Yo, what's going on, folks? I am at the house. Just got in from Sturgeon Bay, and we had an amazing week, man. What an unbelievable fishery that place is. But I wanted to take a little bit of time after that event to talk to you guys about one of my favorite techniques, and that's the NED rig. I realize I haven't talked about this in detail yet, and this is a technique that has taken off over the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. It originated in the Midwest, and a lot of the older guys have been doing this for years and years and years, such as Ned Katie and a bunch of his crew, these OGs, right? They got this down packed. Extra simplistic technique though, that's kind of like just been before our eyes, and we just didn't realize how effective it was. So I'm gonna let you guys jump in with me, and I'm gonna show you guys all the intricate details that I put into my NED rig setup. You don't have to overcomplicate this. It's very simplistic, but we're gonna go over it in detail right now. All right, guys, I'm gonna start off with, I'm gonna do this a little different than I would any other breakdown. I'm gonna start off with the line, right? We're gonna go through line, rod reel, obviously, and then bait selection, terminal tackle, things along those lines. So let's start off with the line, okay? I got right here a couple of spools of the good stuff, the best stuff that there is, okay? That's Seaguar Tatsu, 6 and 8 pound test, and then this is Seaguar Smackdown Flash Green, okay? This is gonna be my main line. 15 or 20 pound test is my recommendation for the most castability and effectiveness using this technique. I highly recommend the Flash Green because you can see it very well and pick up on subtle bites, okay? So 6 or 8 pound fluorocarbon. Why such a light line? Again, this is a finesse technique, a finesse application. Action and presentation is at key. It's paramount, okay? A lot of people think you drop to lighter line because the fish are spooky or finicky and all this and that. That's not necessarily the case. Oftentimes, the reason you're decreasing your line size to 6 and 8 and 10 and things along those lines, it's for the action. The higher the diameter of line you use, you decrease the action in the bait. And for finesse applications like drop shotting and Ned rigs and wacky worms and things like that, you want the maximum action out of those baits because they're smaller offerings. They can be harder to get action out of them. So if you throw them on big line, you're just not going to achieve the action that you want, okay? So I always start off with 6 or 8, and I'll go up to 10 pound. I'll never throw a Ned rig on anything heavier than 10 pound test. That's my personal opinion. I'm sure you guys have other opinions, but again, this is what we doing over here at the MDJ channel. This is how I'm breaking it down. So 6, 8, or 10 pound Tatsu leader material on my 20 pound main line. Key right there, okay? All right, next, we're gonna jump into the baits. Before I start showing you guys different baits in the terminal tackle that I use, I'm gonna make a statement, and you guys could call it what you want. I'm not being a salesman or being salesy. You guys just saw me catch over almost 300 pounds of bass over the course of 3 or 4 days on Z-Man products, okay? When it comes to Ned rig, first of all, let me back up and say this. I'm a professional angler. I use anything out there that works. I don't care what brand it is. If they're biting on that, that's what I'm using, okay? So let me preface that by saying that. Now, when it comes to Ned rigging, I personally believe, and I feel strongly about this, that you don't need to go to any other company other than Z-Man. And why is that? They're the originators of the Ned rig, and just like all these other baits that have come along over the years, generally speaking, the original is generally the best. And that goes for stick baits. You want to talk about Cincos, that goes for hard baits. You want to talk about the original Bill Lewis rattle trap. I mean, it goes on and on and on. The original is usually the best. So I feel the same way when it comes to Ned rigging. So I have a system with my Ned rig. I have a system, and this is my system. I use almost exclusively this bad boy right here for my jig head. This is the Finesse Shrooms head. Comes in several different sizes. I personally like 2 sizes. I throw the 1/6 ounce and the 1/5 ounce. They got some awkward and unique sizes, but a 1/5 is just a tiny bit smaller than a 1/4 ounce for you guys to kind of reference that. This is my favorite guy right here. These two, a 1/6 and a 1/5. Okay, and I'll put all this stuff in the description box, so if you guys want to go check it out online, be my guest, feel free. Okay, when it comes to bait selection, I don't get too carried away. There's only a handful of baits that I use. Z-Man has a wide variety of excellent bait choices, from the finesse TRD to the hula sticks to the TRD crawls to the TRD bugs to the TRD minnows. All of these baits work excellent. I'm a very simplistic fisherman. I try not to overcomplicate things. I got 2, sometimes 3 baits that I'll use on a Ned rig. All right, bait number 1 is my all-time go-to. This is what I catch them on coast to coast all year long. It's one of my favorite. It's this guy right here. This is the finesse TRD, okay? This particular color is green pumpkin goby. This is where I always start. I don't know why. This is where I have the most confidence, regardless if I'm fishing for largemouth, smallmouth, or spotted bass. Green pumpkin goby is always my starting point. It's green pumpkin, that catches them coast to coast, has a little purple flake in it. Can never go wrong with purple. And then it has a little bit of gold flake in it when you want to try to mimic a little more goby style bait, which was the case last week. So this is always a good starting point. Secondly, I throw green pumpkin, okay, which is just a catch-all everywhere you go in the country. And then depending on where you live at in the country, you can get more specific. You can start getting into your shad hues. They have a color called the deal, which is one of my favorites whenever I'm trying to put a little bait fish mimicking colors into my lure selection. Canada craw, if you want to start getting real crawfishy. Green pumpkin orange, if you want a real vibrant. Copper truce, the water's dirty. I mean, they have a very wide selection of colors that work excellent. Okay, but so this is my number 1 bait. It's going to be the finesse TRD 2.75 inch. A close second, and sometimes it is first, depending on if I want a little more action or if I want to be a little more subtle. It's going to be this guy right here, and you've seen me talk about this several times. I even have a video dedicated to this bait. It's called the hula stick, and I'm going to open the pack and show you this bait. When I'm Ned rigging this bait, it's about 4 inches in length. Okay, awesome bait right here. Has a little tentacles on the end, a little added action. Again, if I want a little more action, this is going to be the choice. And I'll cut this down. I'll cut about 1 inch off of this, and I'll make it about a 3-inch bait, and then I'll go ahead and use it on my Ned heads as an alternative to the TRD. Excellent choice right here. You gotta have some of these in the boat. And then last but not least, when they get really on that crawfish pattern, and I know for sure that's what they're feeding on. They're spitting up crawfish in the live wells, or you catch one and you see the crawfish pinchers hanging out of the throat. Well, that's a good indication that you need to be strongly imitating a crawfish. And what's a better way and a better choice to do that than this right here? This is called TRD crawls, and I'm gonna pop the package on this as well. Let you guys take a quick peek at this guy. Very detail oriented, very lifelike, very realistic. Okay, this is called molting crawl, and this is an excellent crawfish imitator, as you can see. Small, subtle, non-threatening, full of action. It gets bit, just like all the other baits. Something I want to point out too with Z-Man that separates it from any other company and why their baits work so well. It is the simple fact that they use a product called Elastec. I don't know what all goes into it, but I can tell you this. It's extremely durable, as we know, right? And it's extremely buoyant. So the moment I cast this bait out and it sinks down to the bottom, the crawls on this little bait right here, the claws, excuse me, are gonna stand right up in an immediate defense posture, which has bass down on the bottom. They can see that from quite a distance away, especially in clear water. So it's just always very visible to the fish. It creates some commotion. It's always standing out, and it just outfishes other products. I'm just gonna be honest with you when it comes to Ned rigging. Again, this is an excellent choice, the TRD crawls, for when you're trying to mimic the crawfish. Now that's all I got for you on baits. That's where I usually start and stop. There are times where I'll drop shot like a TRD minnows, or I'll do a jig trailer with a TRD bugs, a small compact finesse jig or something like that. But when I'm Ned rigging specifically, I'm usually reaching for one of those three. All right, moving right along, last but not least, and probably one of the most important aspects of the NED rig is having the right rod and reel setup, okay? Now, Favorite Rod makes several different rods for this application. So if price point is a problem for you, no worries, they got you covered. There's like 4 rods I'd recommend for this particular technique. For my serious hardcore guy, like myself, you're looking for lightweight, parabolic action, sensitivity. You can't beat the Hex. The Hex is going to be the highest end rod that Favorite makes. It's a little bit on the pricey side, but it is an excellent choice when it comes to throwing a NED rig. And my recommendation is the 6'8" medium action. That's what I love to use. But also, prior to them coming out with that rod, I got by just fine with the 6 stick, and that's a $129 rod. I think that's very reasonable price, and you can do a lot of things with that. Also, drop shot with that rod, shaky head, and other finesse techniques. NED rig, you name it, all with the 6 stick at $129 price point. Also, the brand new Pro Series. That rod is an excellent NED rig rod, and it's also hovering right around that $129 price point. So a lot of great options out there. If you want to step up and get a little more pricey, like the jackhammer, or if you really want to do it all the way, you get the Hex. So a lot of options out there for you, but the key with the rod is you want to make sure it's not too stiff. You want a medium action rod with a lot of tip to it. Very parabolic, that's going to give and bow to that fish when they're down there digging and pulling. And also, it's an open hook technique, so you're not jacking them real hard. It's more of a reel set. You know, you start reeling down, your line gets tight, and you just kind of pull into them. So that's going to be the rod choice. The reel choice for me is very simple. I use Johnny Moore's Platinum 3000 series spinning reel. You guys will notice on this last one, I did have a Shimano Stella, and that's just because those smallmouth, when they get close to the boat, they're so strong, so powerful, so hot that you need an extremely smooth drag system. So that's what I choose to use in that particular situation. But day in and day out, the Bass Pro Shop Johnny Moore's 3000 is an excellent choice. Very reasonably priced. I think it's $119. You can get that combo, match it up with a 6 stick, you know, 200 plus bucks. You're in the game with an excellent finesse rod, not only NED rigging, but other things as well. So I hope you guys found this video informative. I just wanted to break it down just because the NED rig has become so popular and it's become one of my favorites. I have done some absolute damage in several events, tour level events, with the NED rig, with the finesse TRD and the finesse shroom's head. That little marriage right there. It's a beautiful thing. So if you haven't tried the NED rig, please pick you some up and don't look too far. Z-Man has you covered. Trust me on that. Give it a shot. I'm sure it'll catch you some more fish. Appreciate you guys checking me out. Make sure you subscribe, drop me a comment, let me know what you want to see next, and we'll get it out to you. Tight lines.